Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Back at you, Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón, and today I have a special guest, Maria Antonieta Reyes, who is a candidate for District 7 for the City of Laredo City Council. Good morning.
Hi.
How are we doing today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Tell me, let's talk about Maria Antonieta. Let's find out who you are. Let's find out why you're standing up and why you want to run. You know, because it takes courage to sign the dotted line. You're going to be a candidate for a public official, and I commend everybody that's running, because it takes a special person to go up there and just say, you know, I'm going to run.
Of course.
So, why? Number one, let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay. So I've always been kind of a truth talker. I've spoken against authority when it's abusive, always. I got here into Nixon, for example, from Mexico City. I grew up in Mexico City, which is a metropolitan area, and I grew up primarily on a religious school. So I'm a Catholic by birthright. I had no choice about that. And when I got to Nixon, I joined the ROTC. So that's just one example. I joined the ROTC. We have the armed guards, right? The ones that flip the weapons up and down. And I wanted to join in. And
Did you?
I couldn't, because I was a woman. And it's the first time that I encounter these type of unfair systems, because in the Catholic school, you did as you were told. As a matter of fact, you're prettier if you're quiet, right? You speak when you're spoken to. But when I found myself wanting to do something and being told you can't do it because you're a woman, I had issues. So from then on, I became this person that spoke against unfair systems. I did it again in the military, because I was a Hispanic female in a primarily African American unit who wasn't getting promoted, even though my promotion should have been automatic. And it took a Hispanic captain to come in and actually fix it, even though I was fighting it, right? So I have this sense of duty against injustice. I fight for those that don't want to fight for themselves, and I fight for myself knowing that the system doesn't only affect me, it affects others. The same thing happened in TAMIU. So that's who I am. I speak with passion, and I speak the truth. And I'm not shy about being honest. If you are crap, I will very much tell you why and how that is affecting the community that we have, and why you need to stop being crap, right?
Okay.
So.
But those are some good points.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And that's why I'm running, because you see what's wrong, and you have this sense of it needs to be fixed, so let me step up and do it. But I don't want to do it by myself. I want to invite the community to join in, so we can then create the community we envision together.
You know, those are some great words, and that's some good energy that needs to be done, because discrimination and injustice happens all the time. Okay, injustices occur, discrimination occurs, nationalism, which a lot of people think misconstrued it with patriotism. Nationalism is actually a discrimination. You know, you can discriminate somebody because of their religion, because of their ethnicity, race, or even creed. Those are they're discriminations. They exist. And mankind has always been that way. But we see it more here. You know, I see it because you're Latina. It happens, and it happens because you were a Tejano and you went across when you were in high school and you were dating a girl that was in Laredo. It happens that discrimination occurs. Tejanos are one thing, Mexicanos are another. You know, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And the ball continues rolling down that hill and picks up whatever it is. People that have lived in Laredo and that have never gone out are protected by this bubble, because in Laredo, Latinos are the majority. They never experience, how can I say, discrimination as a whole. Only those that are here from Laredo and they go outward will see the discrimination that occurs. But let's come back here to Laredo, okay? Let's come back to Laredo. Laredo has a discriminatory substance that is actually a social class discrimination. If you're from this barrio, you're frowned upon. If you're in this social level, you're frowned upon. If you went for this school, you're frowned upon. If you hung out with these people, you're frowned upon. And we have to stop that, okay? But how do we stop that? It's very hard. But those discriminatory factors continue within the work environment, and they continue within our governmental bodies. It exists.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know what it is, whether some people might call it a patron system, some people might call it the good old boy system, some people might call it a Cosa Nostra mafia type of an environment. It exists, but there's differences. You know, we can call it whatever we want, but that discrimination exists. Some people might discriminate you because guess what? You went to a different high school than they did. And now they work for the city, and you tell them, I'm going to open up this thing here, and all of a sudden you can see that.
That's right. Yeah.
That you can see that barrier
Right.
occur, and you're like, wait a minute, it happened 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you still acting this way? So that is something that is, I don't know how we can stop it, but it exists here in Laredo. Is that one of the major problems? That is a problem. But it is not one of the major problems that we have. And I think that what you're getting at in our conversation prior was that the reason why you ran. Let's look at those problems that you think are needed to change here in the city of Laredo and the reasons why.
Well, I believe that is a big problem, and I'm gonna tell you why. When I've been block walking and people have been so candid to open their doors to me and to actually share their thoughts, first of all, that's already an act of humanity, a humane act. When you yourself are open to conversations that may be uncomfortable, that's when empathy takes place and connectivity is possible. In these conversations, I have to say that the majority of the problems are what all the candidates are bringing up. Things with speed bumps, with lighting, with traffic. But as a whole, most citizens I speak to are very much content. And that has been shocking. And this contentment, believe it or not, goes back to this bubble you were trying to express. Just because you might be okay doesn't mean that as a community or as a society we are okay. Right now, you have a federal government, a state government, and a local government that very much suppress your ability to be politically active. I cannot emphasize how dangerous that is. And so because of that, that contentment, that complacency needs to be something we address. And so how do we address it? Through empathy. We have to be open with each other. And in that openness, in that conversation, in that drive through curiosity of, hey, what color do you like? What are your issues? What should we do in our city? Eventually, social transformation that is synergetic, where there is a win-win, not a trade-off, not a transactional relationship like we have been educated. In Laredo, you think, I vote for this person because my family has voted for them, or my family is telling me to vote for them, or my job is offering me a bonus, or the patron is actually going to offer some benefits, or the cañonero. This is the only coin we have to transform society, and it's the most valuable coin. Why exchange it in those terms and continue to have the system that suppresses us? So we need to address it, the contentment, the apathy, the complacency. We need to start speaking up, but not just, hey, this is unfair. No, come out and vote for who you think will create change. Stop voting for the person that is going to pay you to vote for them. Consider the social consequences that it is to sell your vote for anything. Even if it's to get rid of your traffic tickets, you're selling your vote.
Absolutely. And that's always been around. We've had more people are more vociferous than others in the sense that they'll express their opinions. Okay, I don't like that candidate, and he can basically go fly a kite. Okay? And all of a sudden, you put a sign because you're gonna vote for the person that's running against him.
Right.
I used to get people call all the time, and they'll say, "Well, you know what? And they'll call, "Oye, sobrino, ¿qué pasó, tío? How you doing, uncle?" Goes, "Hey, your cousin. He works for. I'm just gonna throw out a name. He works for the person that you put the sign that's against him. It's gonna affect his job." Because we're cousins. And I go, you mean to tell me that cousin of mine that never says hi to me even if I extend my hand? You mean that one right there?
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to put 2 signs now of the other person for that. So those calls always continue.
Yeah.
Or the oppressive nature of the bullies coming out when people were holding signs and intimidating others. That exists here.
Yeah.
That exists here in Laredo. You used to see it around. Okay? When you had a couple of wannabe thugs go out and enforce votes for another candidate, and all of a sudden you have a candidate that you're walking basically to protect him. And that happened. I did that.
Yeah.
I've seen that. So when people say, "Oh, it doesn't happen," it does happen.
Yeah.
They do threaten you. They do intimidate you. They do send you what they think are people that can beat you up. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. So when people tell me that it doesn't, it's happened to me.
Yeah.
And believe me, a lot of those guys understand my knuckles, and they have felt them before, and they're still wearing badges.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we'll
Yeah.
do it again anytime you want to dance.
Exactly.
The problem that we have here is we do not have a clean voting slate. What's a clean voting slate? Where a voter can go to a elect or where you're voting and enter without you being harassed by somebody from voting and trying to intimidate you. It happens.
Right.
And we have to stop that. And we, as people that are voters, we the voters have to complain when that occurs. But not only that, you all as candidates have to voice your opinions when those intimidations occur. And that needs to change. That's number 1 rule.
I would also like to add, okay, I have suffered those threats. Okay, for example, after 2 years in TAMIU, I had a person contacting me through Facebook and say, the Killiams don't like what you're saying in the classroom. Be careful, you can lose your job. After 4 years, the president of the university actually contacted me, the vice president of the university contacted me to get after me for something I said in the classroom because a city council member called them. And they told me, be careful or you're gonna lose your job. Well, when I speak the truth, what was the threat? Be careful or you're gonna lose your job. All I can tell you is, I am where most citizens are. Why? Because I live in this city. But I stood up and I said, guess what? I am about doing the right thing, not just for me, but for my community. You want to fire me? There are other jobs. Somebody actually used the phrase, what are you going to do, Maria? Are you going to let your family starve? Guess what? We're not going to starve. That fear is something we need to ignore. Because Laredo, historically, we as a community has always survived. We continue to thrive even in the lowest points of history, like the Great Depression, like the economic crisis of 2008. Guess what? We thrive. And that's what we need to keep in mind. We are survivors, we are strong people, and we are put in this situation. Guess what? Let's hold each other's hands and let's walk together against this culture of fear and threat.
You know, you're absolutely correct. But those threats are going to be there. So right now, a threat has to be sent with, has to be very few people that are going to understand what a threat is. If you've been threatened, you're going to understand you've been threatened. And if they
sometimes it's subtle.
Yeah, and then if they send you people, because they do send people, they do send thugs, and believe me, they've sent them. In fact, last year during a show, they send one, and the message was sent back, and that's the way it is. And for those out there that believe otherwise, I'll post a picture of the remnants of that individual in my hand. And what occurs is that they do that.
Yes.
Okay, they do use some of our badges to do that, and that is not right. Okay, because they're doing it on oppression under the color of law, and they have to stop doing that. Okay, so do we have an oppressive culture here? Yes, we do. Does it exist? Yes, it does. How can we stop it? The thing is when you tell some of our leaders, they don't understand that it's going on.
Very good.
Some of them do
Thank
not.
you.
They're disconnected.
Yes.
They're disconnected of what's going on here and what they're doing. They're like, really, what? From what? So our city council, I'm going to use our city council because you're running for city council.
Uh-huh.
They're disconnected right now from the community.
Very good. They are.
The vast majority are,
Yes.
or else you wouldn't have 10 people running in your area
Right.
and with a write-in. You wouldn't have 5 people running with a write-in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have 5 people running over here on the other with a write-in. You wouldn't have the other 2 over there, and I think they also have a write-in. So look at what's going on. People, the community spoke and said, this stops now. And with the bat soup flu and this crisis that we're in, we are understanding as a community, we have to hold up each other, we have to back up each other, or else we're all going to falter. Because dreams, goals, desires of better living have been stopped, have been destroyed, all because of somebody saying, oh, well, we have to follow this because and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Now, and then let's talk on, those are the horrific things that occur.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about the positive things that you would want to change. What would you like to change in your district? Let's start with that.
In my district, I would like to make a standard the actions government should be taking. There shouldn't be one street without lighting in my district. That should be a basic service. We should do everything that is possible for pickup trash.
Mm-hmm.
The recycling needs to come back into working. We need to figure it out. Is it possible to handle it district by district?
Mm-hmm.
Sidewalks, speed bumps, all of those things that people... I have people in District 7 that have shown me they spend money putting up lights outside their house to light up the street. Because otherwise, kids start hanging out in the dark and using drugs.
Yeah.
And that burden shouldn't fall upon those households. It should be a government action, and that should be a standard. Clean water, clean air, safety. That's just basic government action that should be present. I want to make that the standard. I want to make that possible for District 7, so we can talk about bigger issues. Bigger issues like the apathy of government, the trust of government, the way we handle policy making at the local level, the fact that the state continues to tell us we cannot decide for us as a community of Laredo. We have examples like fracking and the plastic bag ban. The state, we need to find a way for our community's voice to be heard. And that's a big problem, but we cannot do that if we continue to make the citizens worry about the basics. So that's what I want to do.
Okay. What other, how about, that's your community, that's
District 7.
District 7.
Yeah.
How about Laredo in general? Laredo lacks a bunch of things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what would you say that in the priority of lacking? Because I've heard all the candidates.
Right.
And so I'm talking this way because there's things that are lacking that they say, and you're like, I didn't know that was the problem, but now
Right.
you all are educating me and you're educating others, and
Yeah,
hopefully,
well, that's what happens when we talk to each other.
yeah, usually, and that's what I want this show to be, you know, though, to inform the lesser informed, and that's what we basically need to do.
Yeah.
So, what things do you think Laredo's lack that we need as, not only as a community, as the municipality of Laredo to enforce?
One of the primary issues that I would like to address is the fact that our city charter is only in English. Our community needs to accept that we are a bilingual community. I don't care who you are, the commerce between us and Mexico demands that we acknowledge that bilingualism. But it is very important to acknowledge it when it comes to the laws that rule the city. Right now, we're gonna vote for changes on the city charter, and they're gonna provide you with English and Spanish versions, but the charter itself is only in English. The city hall meetings only happen in English. And there is no possibility of acknowledging that other voice. And many of them are US citizens, by the way. It's like we don't comprehend that brains work different, and some brains can learn 2, 3, 4 languages, and some brains can't. That's one thing. The other thing is the budget. For me, the budget is being an issue that keeps getting kicked down the road. I got here in 2012. In 2012, as a professor, I discovered there were problems with the budget. In 2014 and in 2018, guess what? I've been interviewing people in the city. And I'm talking about bureaucrats, people that deal with decision making and the budget itself, that have let me know that is going to bubble and explode.
What have, out of your interviews, out of your research, what did you find out?
Well, I found out that we have to understand that the budget comes from citizens' funds, and that there is a public responsibility not only from government officials, but all the organizations with budget within that. So we need to have serious conversations with the firefighters, with the police, with utilities, with the trash pickup. Members that do the work, believe it or not, have solutions into how to best handle those organizations. There are issues with the unions. The firefighters and the police organizations very much have to negotiate contracts with the city. When we hire lawyers, are we making sure they are experts in contract negotiations? Because guess what? When I interview union leaders let me know they are in the advantage. And when we have an ignorant government working with expert unions, you can figure out who's in the loose, right? I work close with the firefighters and the police organizations, with both the union and the police organ, the union and the firefighters. So I can understand both points of view. But I do it because they are all public servants. And we have to acknowledge that their role in society is important. But those organizations need to acknowledge that these heavy conversations of benefits, retirement, higher pay that the average citizen of of Laredo, needs to be in part of the conversation. We need to realize that, especially after this COVID-19, there is a lot of people that are incapable of paying their taxes, their fees, and therefore less money is going to be part of that budget. So we need to be honest with each other, face this with openness. And I know for a fact that both organizations have groups of people that very much believe in public service and the public good, that are willing to have these conversations. There are a lot that don't, but that has to do with organizational management strategies. How do you attract people to the firefighters? You talk about pay, you talk about benefits, so guess what? Economic interests are one of the priorities of why people seek those jobs. Okay, public service has gone down the line. We need to bring it back through different types of training, which, by the way, I offer for free. I offer to train police officers and firefighters for free on public service values. And that didn't go anywhere, just so you know, because my condition was that it should be accessible to all members of the organization. In most cases, they wanted it for the top ranking. And that's not who needs it, it's everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
The brass doesn't need it. No, you're absolutely correct. And you know, we have great first responders. We have
Yes.
magnificent first responders that they don't care whether your political views, your religious views, your sexual preference, your ethnicity, your race. They're going to show up and they're going to give themselves, even if it includes their life, they're going to do their best to make sure that you live. And we have a great first responders here in Laredo. I mean, they're the best to me. And but there's some things within the organizations that need to be stopped, you know. And it goes back to what's been going on, you know. How has it been treated in the last 20 years and 30 years? You know, has that culture that been there, that patron culture, the cronyism, still around? Yes, it just rolls down. But we need to make sure that we clean up that. And when you talk to both the firefighters and you talk to both, they're good individuals, they're great people from society. They don't want that, but yet they're afraid to stand up against that.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like the rest of us.
And that needs to stop.
Yes.
That needs to stop dramatically. It's something that that needs to end. And the only way we need to end is by literally placing people in there that are not afraid to say it stops here. And until we get that, until we get that, those folks in there, they're going to tell the city manager and tell the rest of the department heads, you know what, here it stops. Then we can get something done. Because we have department heads that have been there for 20, 25 years, been the same thing, same problem, same entity, same problems continue growing, and they say, well, then all of a sudden they realize it and they say, okay, we're going to remove that person from here, we're going to stick them in this department over here. Well, this department here didn't have those problems, so you just moved problem number one, put it over here. Now you have problems over here now. So it continues, you know. And I like this phrase, and I'm going to use it. And they say, Ben Franklin used to say it. He goes, you can never soar like an eagle if you flop around with turkeys. And that's what we have. But enough of that.
Turkeys are good birds.
But they're good to eat. But they're, you know, eagles are it's a predator animal.
They're predators,
You know,
yeah.
so number one, if God gives you and blesses you with winning, what will be the first thing that you're going to go in there and say, you know what?
Those two things. The city charter in Spanish, and let's address the budget. And how can we address it? We're going to have to break it down. We're going to have to break it down in chewable pieces for all citizens to see. Why? Look, when the firefighters and the police officers are going through contract negotiations, they enter into this competing spirit with the city, the government itself. And anything the government says we need to cut down or we need to reduce, they take it as a threat. As a matter of fact, within each of the organizations, that spills through in their culture. And they start feeling victimized. So we need to be transparent about how we handle this. Are their funds being misused somewhere else? We need to figure out. Because otherwise distrust brews this conspiracy theory feeling that they're out to get us and they don't want us here. They want to defund police. They want to destroy the firefighter. No. In order to be able to have a healthy relationship, we need to deconstruct it in a transparent way. This is where the money is going. And guess what? If we discover that money is being misused somewhere else, we need to handle it. We need to handle it. So those are the two things I want to do going in. Poof, right off the bat.
Well, those are some strong commitments. It needs to happen, and everybody needs to come back down. We live in Laredo, and everybody needs to refuse. But I do understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, that they feel victimized, and it occurs, you know. I look at the word defund the police, and everybody takes it as, oh, they're gonna dismantle.
Right.
Defunding the police is going on all the time. Okay, they come in there and they say, okay, well, guess what? You guys aren't going to get those new cars we promised. We're only going to buy one instead of 10.
Right.
So, isn't that defunding? Or you know what? You all aren't going to get that taser. We're going to go with this cheaper taser over here that's a lot less quality, because we need to spend that money for the 16 secretaries that you guys just hired, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just putting out a number. Or so that's defunding. It happens all the time. So we have, you know, and they're saying, oh, it's at the budget. No, it's rebudgeting. No, it's defunding. You're taking them off. Martial arts skills. The vast majority of them can't fight the way out of a wet paper bag. That's the honest truth. Okay? But they have skills. They have an 8-hour course, so if I can do this, I can do that. Well, if they could do this and they can do that, they should be able to take care of an individual.
Right.
Okay? They don't need to escalate the force because that individual, which should have been taken care of quickly
Yeah.
and decisively, now escalated into a big problem.
Right. Right.
So they need they need training.
Proper training. Yeah.
Okay? But that's the first thing that goes.
Yeah.
Okay?
But it doesn't go by choice of the city. Okay? The organizations themselves recommend expenditure. Now, the way the budget works, and that means local, state, and federal government, organizations are forced to ask for more than what they need in order to get what they actually need. When you talk about defunding, the way that it is mostly talked about in terms of...
That the BLM and all that?
Right. No, it talked about in terms of budgeting.
Okay.
Defunding would mean reducing the expenditures. That rarely happens. Why? Because we have educated organizations to ask for more in order to get what they need. So if you come as an organization and ask me for 8 million and I just give you 4 million, that's not an actual defunding if you got 4 million the year before. You see what I'm saying? Only if I give you 3 million and you got 4 million the year before, that would be defunding. And when we talk about defunding in society in today's political reality, we are talking about that. We are talking about rethinking the militarization that has taken place in policing, and therefore using the money we use for that militarization aspect and putting it somewhere else, reducing their budget. That would be the funding, right? But if they come and ask for 8 million and they only get 4, and it's more than the amount they got the year before, they're not getting the funding. But that's the game of the budget. Unfortunately, we have gotten used to that. Very few times do we credit an organization for making good budgetary decisions. Okay, we actually encourage them to spend, and that's a bigger problem. You know, yeah.
Some wise thoughts for people out there to ponder on. But on another note, if somebody wishes to help you in your campaign, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, my email is votemariareyes@gmail.com. My website is www.votemariareyes4d7.com. My cell phone number is 334-663-3271. If you want to help my campaign, which you are welcome to, the first thing you need to do is tell your friends and your neighbors about me. Have the conversation of, have you heard about Maria Antonieta Reyes? And can you vote for her? This is what she stands for. The second thing would be contact me to put a poster in your property. I really have some posters left just for that purpose, if you want to support me in that way. Share everything I do in social media whenever I share it. I am very bad in social media, but if I do share something, share it. And the last thing I'm gonna ask you to do is please vote. Early voting happens between October 13th and October 30th. That is the best time to go out and vote because it will put you at less risk for COVID-19. November 3rd, there will be longer lines. So try to vote early and inform yourself about the candidates. So even if you go out and vote and you don't vote for me, please go out and vote. And don't sell your vote. Whatever you do, don't exchange it for a favor, don't exchange it for money, don't exchange it for something material or a promise of a job. Remember that it is the only coin of exchange we have to give voice to our democratic values. That's it. Once you toss it, you cannot toss it again until 2 years from now. So.
Well, folks, you've listened to Ms. Reyes, and early vote starts next week. It'll be 3 weeks of early vote. We get an extension by the governor. Our Webb County Elections Administration Department has done an excellent job. They have curbside voting. In fact, last time I took my mom, she had just gotten surgery in her hand. She had broken it, she fell, and we were parked outside. It was the best thing that ever happened. So please, not that the hand was broken, but the curbside voting, because they were doing excellent job.
I'm glad you explained that.
So, folks, vote, research your candidates, and exercise your right. Do it now, and because this is going to be probably the best election that you'll ever have, and it's the most important one. And this one can change a lot of things for a lot of communities. Okay, till next time, peace.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Hello, how are you? My name is Celestino Marina. I'm running for City Council, District 5, and I would like your support. Together, we will win. Thank you.
Hi Laredo, this is Carlos Perez. I'm running for Laredo College Board of Trustees Place 8. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CG Perez RLC. I look forward to gaining your support this campaign season and earning your vote November 3rd. Thank you.
Laredo College needs a leader, an educator with a vision to move forward for a positive change. This is why, as your candidate, I want accessible education and, most importantly, I want to listen to your concerns as a stakeholder, students, faculty, staff, and taxpayers. It's time for education over politics.
Vote Justin Huntsnusher Casiano for Laredo College Board, Place 7.
Hi, I'm Amber Avis Hinojosa, ready to change the direction of District 8. As a resident and business owner in the heart of the community, I know the pressing issues at hand. It's time to realize the potential in this district. Join me in the fight to bring change. Vote Amber Avis Hinojosa for City Council District 8. The future of our district is in our hands.